Picture this. You stash away $10,000 under your mattress today. Fast forward 10 years, and that same stack of bills can't buy you what it could right now. The kicker? You didn't spend a single dollar. You didn't make any bad investments. Your money just disappeared. Welcome to the silent wealth destroyer that's been picking your pockets since the day you were born. And it's completely legal. And honestly, banks are counting on you never figuring it out. We're talking about inflation, but not the boring textbook version where prices just go up a little bit each year. I'm talking about the reality that most people don't grasp until it's too late. Your money is melting away like ice cream on a summer sidewalk, and the system is designed to make sure you barely notice until the damage is done. Right now, millions of people are working hard, cutting back on lattes, and dutifully putting money into savings accounts that pay maybe 0.5% interest. They think they're being responsible. They think they're building wealth. They're on TikTok bragging about their savings discipline. But here's the uncomfortable truth. They're actually getting poorer every single day. And the math proves it. Let's run a real world experiment. Take $100 from the year 2010. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that $100 would need to be about $137 today just to buy the exact same stuff. Think about what that actually means. If you buried a $100 bill in your backyard in 2010 and dug it up today, that bill is now worth only about $73 in today's money. You lost 27% of your wealth. Not because you spent it, not because you made bad investments, simply because you held on to cash while the economy moved around you. But it gets worse when you look at specific things people actually need. A gallon of gas in 2010 averaged $2.79. Today, over $3.50 in most places, sometimes pushing $5 depending on where you live. A dozen eggs that cost $1.50 back then will run you $3 or more now. That's doubling in price in just 16 years. The median rent for a one-bedroom apartment in a major city has basically doubled. If you were paying $1,200 a month in 2010, you're looking at $2,400 or more now. And here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Look at the big three expenses: housing, healthcare, and education. A college degree that cost $30,000 in the early 2000s now runs you over $100,000 at many schools. Think about that for a second. 4 times more expensive. A starter home that was $150,000 in 2005 is pushing $400,000 in the same neighborhood today. That's not because houses are better. That's pure inflation plus demand. But here's the real mind bender that most people miss. Salary increases don't keep pace. Sure, maybe you got a 2% raise last year. Congratulations. If inflation was 3%, you actually took a pay cut. Your employer celebrates giving you a raise. You look at your bank account and you're somehow worse off. You're working the same hours, probably working harder, and your purchasing power went down. Let's talk compound effects, because this is where inflation really shows its teeth. Small numbers repeated over time create massive impacts. And this is the part banks really don't want you understanding. Imagine you save $10,000 in a typical savings account earning 0.5% interest annually. Seems safe, right? You're being responsible. You're not taking risks. Over 10 years, with compound interest, you'd end up with about $10,512. Cool. You made $500 while doing nothing. Except inflation averaged around 2.5% over the past decade. That $10,000 needed to grow to $12,800 just to maintain the same buying power. You didn't make $500. You lost $2,300 in purchasing power. Your savings account didn't preserve your wealth. It destroyed it in slow motion while your bank took a cut. Here's an even scarier calculation. At 3% inflation, money loses half its value in roughly 23 years. That means if you're 30 years old right now and you keep cash savings without proper returns, your nest egg will buy half as much when you're 53. By the time you hit retirement at 65, that initial savings, buys about a third of what it did when you started. Let's make this crystal clear with a more dramatic example. Somebody who stuffed $100,000 in a safe in the year 2000 and opened it today, that money now has the purchasing power of about $67,000. They literally watched $33,000 evaporate into thin air through complete inaction. That's a brand new car just vanishing. A year of college, a down payment on a house, gone. And before anyone says, but that person could have just earned more money to compensate, that's not the point. The point is that holding cash, which most people think of as the safest possible option, is actually a guaranteed way to lose wealth over time. The system is literally designed to punish you for being cautious. Now, here's what the so-called experts often gloss over when they talk about inflation. Inflation doesn't hurt everyone equally. It's actually incredibly regressive. Wealthy people don't hold their fortunes in cash. They own assets, real estate, stocks, businesses, commodities, art, whatever, things that typically rise in value with inflation or faster than inflation. When prices go up, so does the value of what they own. Inflation can actually make rich people richer, but regular working people, their wealth is their savings and their paycheck. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can't afford to tie up money in investments. You need liquid cash for emergencies, for bills, for life, and that cash is constantly, systematically losing value. There's also a psychological trap that banks and governments kind of count on. People think in nominal terms, not real terms. If someone tells you your savings went from 10,000 to 10,200, your brain sees that as progress. You made money. You're winning. But if that happened over 4 years and inflation was 3% annually, you actually lost purchasing power. Your brain celebrates while your wealth shrinks. And that's by design. This is why financial literacy isn't really taught in schools. An informed population would demand either higher interest rates on savings or would pull their money out to invest it elsewhere, neither of which is good for banks, who make money by paying you almost nothing while lending that same money out at much higher rates. They want your deposits. They don't want you understanding what they're doing with them. So what's the actual solution here? Because I'm not just trying to depress everyone. There are legitimate strategies to protect yourself. First, understand that cash is for short-term needs only. Keep 3 to 6 months of expenses in an actual savings account for emergencies. That's it. Everything else needs to be working for you, earning returns that at least match inflation. Second, look for inflation-protected assets. Treasury inflation-protected securities, TIPS, are government bonds that adjust with inflation. Not exciting? You won't get rich from them, but they at least maintain purchasing power. Series 1, savings bonds are similar and can be a decent option right now because they actually offer decent rates. Third, diversify into real assets. Index funds that track the stock market have historically returned around 7 to 10% annually over long periods. That comfortably beats inflation. Real estate, whether through REITs or actual property, tends to hold value over time. Even commodities can hedge against inflation. Fourth, invest in yourself. Education and skills can't be inflated away. If you increase your earning potential, you can outpace inflation through higher income. A skill that's worth money now will likely be worth more money later. The key principle here, your money should always be doing something. Even if it's just sitting in a high-yield savings account earning 4 to 5% instead of the pathetic 0.5% the big banks offer, that's a significant improvement. Stop letting banks use your money for free while they pay you nothing. If this made you rethink how you handle money, and it should have, hit that subscribe button because we break down the financial stuff they should have taught you in school but didn't. Seriously, there's way more to understand about how money actually works. Drop a comment too. How much money are you currently keeping in a regular savings account? And more importantly, did you know it was losing value this whole time? Let's talk about it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.